Hi, everybody. Lori, GLP-1 Journey in Review. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. I know I am. I had to work yesterday, but yeah, everybody's got to make a living, so that's that. Today, we're going to talk about a few things. I want to start off by hoping that all of you are getting your medication okay. I know a lot of you are on compounding, still available. Uh, don't know for how much longer. But I know with me, I'm going to get it as long as I can on compounding. And then there's some decisions to be made whether I want to go with Lilly Direct because I am using tirzepatide, which is the same as Zepbound, or what I'm going to do. So I know a lot of you are on the same boat. If you're just starting, like I said, I would try to stick to the top telehealth companies and pharmacies. There's a lot of sketchy ones out there. Again, just do your research, do your homework, because the last thing and I would like any of you to do is to have a problem and get sick or get some compounding that's useless or like a saline or worse, who knows what you'd be injecting into your body. Again, these are the same cautions I'm starting off with every week because they're so important. Try to stay away from research grade. You're taking a chance. Some might be fine. I'm not saying that it's all bad. There's some gray market stuff out there. Again, I personally, I am trying to steer away from that because, hi, Emmanuel, how you doing? I'm trying to stay away from that. I'm sticking with the main telehealth companies. Yes, I'm getting it from several different companies because, again, I don't know how long this is going to last. Word of caution with that is every company and every pharmacy is a little bit different. The concentrations are different. So don't think that if your dose is 50 units, that all of them are going to be that way. Please be careful and read the instructions. Thank you, Manuel. There's a link right on, or there's a subscribe button right on my page, and it should be on the slide to go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you as a subscriber. We're getting really close to being monetized, and we're going to have uh, big news when that happens. I'm going to up the gift cards that we're giving away. And yeah, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. When we're done with this, not right now, when we're done with this, share it with a friend, anybody you think it might be helpful for. And whether they're on the medication, thinking about the medication, or just curious. Hi, back. Um, so just be cautious. Again, read the instructions because what I get from Empower is not necessarily the same instructions as Red Rock, even though it's the same dose. So again, read the directions. I know that on one of my bottles, I noticed that the directions wasn't on there. So I kept it in the little plastic bag that has the directions because we wouldn't want anybody to either overdose or underdose. We want everybody to take the medication um, as it is directed and helpful. Now, I am actually going to probably finish up a video later today on maintenance and about something new that I've tried while I'm on the maintenance. I don't want to talk too much on it because I'm doing the videos. Hopefully, you'll be watching them, especially if you're a subscriber and you've hit that notification button. You won't miss any of my videos that are coming out. We're going to be talking about some of them. One of them that I want to talk about is one that I released, I believe it was yesterday, on GLP-1 tourism. It's a real thing. As a matter of fact, I have this on my phone here, so let me pull this up. So the Mexico, a lot of people are going to Mexico, especially Mexico City. Because if I'm not mistaken, and I'll read you bits of the article, that the medication, and this is name brand, is $85 for the month. So people are actually making vacations there, picking up the medication. And according to the law, which again I'll get into when I'm reading this this article, rather, is that you can bring back 90 days supply as long as you have the prescription and so forth. Now, remember that United States prescriptions are not good in Mexico and usually vice versa. So they have a lot of some telehealth and some concierge doctors that are right in the big touristy states that will help you get the prescription. I'm not telling people to do this. I'm just, reporting that this is available. And if you watch my video, you'll see this. Again, keep in mind the price of the concierge doctor. Um, I don't believe it's super expensive, but I could be mistaken on that. Just, do your research because a lot of people are getting it for quite a bit cheaper. And there's other countries that do this also and they're bringing it back. Plus, they get a free vacation out of it. So, it is a real thing. So, let me get back to this article. And, for expats and travelers, um, right now in Mexico, it's only available for type 2 diabetes, but I have kind of heard that they're getting around this with the concierge doctors. But anyhow, that's a whole different topic. Um, Mounjaro, a groundbreaking injectable medication, has gained significant attention for its effectiveness in both blood sugar and weight management. This guide is for its availability in Mexico. What is Mounjaro? We all know what Mounjaro is, or some of you are. Hi, Shaquille. I want everybody to keep note of Shaquille. He's helping me with my channel. If any of you are starting a channel or have a channel and need some work, Shaquille is your guy. He's helped me tremendously. Big help. Um, like I said, without him, there probably wouldn't be a channel. So thank you, Shaquille. And again, all of you watching, and I know a lot of you watch this on replay, keep this in mind. Shaquille is the guy. So let me get back to the article. If you're wondering, can you get Mounjaro in Mexico? The answer is yes, but with some important caveats. As of 2025, Mounjaro has limited distribution in Mexico and is available in local pharmacies. Again, some of this is just kind of repeating, that they're launching a new thing in Mexico, along with China, India, and Brazil. Currently, Mounjaro can be found at major pharmacy chains in Mexico. However, availability may vary depending on location and stock levels. The medication requires approval by the Mexican authorities for full distribution. And so for expats and travelers seeking Mounjaro in Mexico, it is advisable to call ahead to the pharmacies in the major cities to confirm its availability before making the special trip. Some pharmacies may also offer ordering service if the medication is not immediately available. Is Mounjaro available over the counter in Mexico? Common question among travelers. The definite answer is no. Mounjaro is not available over the counter. Like in the United States and most countries worldwide, Mounjaro or tirzepatide requires a valid prescription from a licensed doctor. It is important to note that U.S. prescriptions are not valid in Mexico. Mexican pharmacies strictly adhere to these regulations due to its potent effect and need for medical supervision. Let's see. There are no compounding pharmacies in Mexico, so Mounjaro and Zepbound have to be approved. Okay, now how expats and travelers can get Mounjaro in Mexico. Consult a Mexican doctor. There's lists of English-speaking endocrinologists, or you could visit a local clinic or hospital. Private clinics in tourist areas often have English-speaking doctors. Bring your medical records, explain your current treatment and why your need for Mounjaro. Obtain the prescription. The doctor will evaluate and deem if it is appropriate. These prescriptions will be recognized by all Mexican pharmacists. Purchase from a reputable pharmacy. Again, I'm trying to skip over some of the stuff that isn't quite as important. Keep the original packaging and pharmacy labels. A letter from the doctor may be helpful in explaining its necessity, and this is for bringing it back into the United States for customs. And then they basically go into Mounjaro, its effectiveness, and so forth, dosing and so forth, which, again, I'm just trying to show you that this tourism for the GLP-1, it's a thing. It's available also in India. I know people are doing it because the way they look at it, it is quite a bit cheaper. Everything in total, by the time you get to the doctor there, get the prescription, pay for the medication, the air travel, hotel, and so forth, may turn out to be about the same as it is in the United States, but you get a vacation on top of it. To me, that's a win-win. And that's, so watch that video from yesterday. It has some really important things. Again, I'm not suggesting that you go to these countries, but, this is an option. And I want people to know that this is a thing because we need to educate ourselves. Again, I personally am not going to do that. Possibly if I happen to be going to Mexico. But again, research pharmacy, because I'm sure they have some pharmacy, especially in these touristy areas that aren't quite so legit. And they're suggesting that you go to the major chains as opposed to like when I've gone to Mexico to these typical, Cancun and so forth. They have this little downtown area for shopping and these little, pharmacy things that, you don't need the prescription, and again, how real are they? I know people that have actually gotten some anti-anxiety medication like Valium and that so forth from them. They said they were fine, but I don't know if I'd want to risk it for that, but that's just me. And again, I'm not telling people to do this. I'm just telling you it is, out there. Whether, I just found it interesting. I have no intention of doing it. I don't really recommend it. If people are going to do it, why not get a free vacation out of it? But, that's just me. Do your research is the most important thing. Just like here, if you're going to be using the compound companies and the telehealth, do your research. I'm still using Mochi despite all their problems. I've had tremendous luck with them lately. A lot of people are saying that some of their problems seem to be taken care of. I know that as of, I believe it was the 28th, they have sent my latest prescription to Empower. Now, South End is supposed to be the pharmacy for my area, according to the Mochi map, which I've gotten from them, and it was okay. The time before that, it went to Red Rock. Now it's back to Empower. I believe they're trying to go to whoever could get it out the fastest. I know that people are saying that Empower is taking a little bit longer. We'll see. Fortunately, I'm not in desperate need of it. And again, like I said, I'm also getting it from Orderly, because I'm stockpiling up because I don't know how much longer this will be. If it doesn't seem to be a problem, and I know Orderly has some, new things coming up that they think will get around all of these things that Eli Lilly is saying that, they can't do that, it's infringing on their copy or their it's not called copyright. They're patent and so forth. So we'll see. If that's the case, I'll just stop ordering for a while, use what I have. Again, I'm just being prepared. I think everybody should be prepared. And speaking of orderly, I know that some of these people online, if are really getting out of hand on some of the comments on YouTube. If they at all think that you're like putting any of the companies that they're representing, down at all, please, it's a lot of it is opinion. People are allowed to have their own opinion. And if you're an orderly rep now and they're sponsoring you and you have a contract with them, you may not in 6 months. You don't want to alienate people. People are going to have opinions. You don't have to get into arguments over them. It's kind of silly. It's not very adult like. And I just don't agree with it. I just thought it was important enough to bring up because I have seen a lot of it on several different people's YouTube channels. Let's all act like adults. Having a different opinion is fine, but let's be adults about it. To me, if everybody had the same opinion as me, and I encourage people with other opinions to comment, just keep it nice and adult like. Life would be boring if we all agreed on everything. I look forward to seeing some opposing opinions, and let's talk about it like adults. Let's not rip each other apart. Let's not harass other subscribers or other people commenting. Let's this is what it's all about. We're here to talk about things. We're here to learn about things. We're here to this is what this channel is. I'm trying to advocate for more accessibility, lower prices, and that includes compounding. That includes several different pharmacies, different telehealth companies. I want to listen to what people are saying. I'm not opposed to changing from the ones that I'm using. If I do my research, if somebody is saying wants to tell me, oh, I go with Brillo and Bella, or Amble or any of those types of things, and this is why, tell me. Let's talk about it. If right now I seem to be talking a lot about Orderly and Mochi, not recommending them. These are pretty risky. Orderly is seem to be pretty good. Mochi has had a bit of a problem. To me, they seem like they're coming back from it. From what I'm reading, other people are getting their prescriptions a little bit quicker. Some people are still having problems, so, this is what we're here to talk about so that you can make an informed decision on what to use and who to use and so forth. Like I said, there are some really, sketchy ones out there. If you are using somebody else, please put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'd love to have, a conversation. As a matter of fact, that kind of brings me, I've done a couple of interviews in the past, and I'm bringing back my interviews. I'm recording one, I believe it's Tuesday, with this girl, Diane, who also has a YouTube channel. I have one with this guy, Alan, hopefully coming up soon. He is in the UK, so we're just having a little bit of a time with time differences, and his days off versus my days off, and so forth. I have one coming up. I don't want to give the name because it is a big name and a big YouTuber who has lost like 300 pounds. So, again, I'm starting this interview series. My wife, Carol, has agreed to an interview. Now, her journey is totally different. Not that everybody's journey is totally different, but she has type 2 diabetes, which slows things down. She's on a very low dose of thyroid medication, which may or may not have hurt or helped. But her blood count showed that the level was a little bit low, so that is helping. She has COPD, so she can't really work out as much, along with arthritis. So everybody's journey is different. And if you would like to be interviewed, you can email me at glp1journeyandreview@yahoo.com. Again, I have a couple people lined up. A good friend of mine who's also type 2 diabetes. She's been traveling a lot because she's about to move her parents in and been very busy. So, we'll see. Hopefully that'll come. I had my questions. I emailed her the questions because she requested them so that she kind of knew what this would be about. So I'd really like to get this interview series going. So again, GLP-1 Journey and Review at Yahoo, or you can message me. My Facebook book, I have it's a very small group. Probably, feel free to message me through that. My regular Facebook is under Lori Eisman. Also, that's my Instagram. Feel free to message me, leave a comment. I read all of my comments. There's plenty of ways to reach me if you're interested. So Carol wants me to, I have props because I wanted to show you guys some, things that I am taking. So, 1 second here while I grab some of these. Sorry about that. I thought I had them in reach, but I wanted to show you. This is the collagen that I use. I put it in my coffee. It's got 20 grams of collagen, and you see it's protein, 18 grams of protein. So like I put this in my coffee. So in my coffee right away, 18 grams of protein, especially on days that I'm not very hungry because it's, a shot day or I'm just, a little bit too busy for breakfast. That sometimes in my coffee, I've tried, especially since I'm on maintenance and I'm trying to add a little bit of calories in because I don't want to really lose, weight. If I lose a pound or so, that's fine. But, I don't want to, I'm not in that weight loss part of it anymore. So sometimes I'll, in my coffee, I have to admit I'm addicted to the French vanilla flavored creams. I do use sugar free, but instead of using all of that, sometimes I'm just using a splash of that and I'm putting in a little bit of vanilla protein. Now, the protein shake that I've been using has 40 grams of protein. Granted, I'm not putting the whole shake in, and maybe I'm putting a quarter of it, but that's an extra 10 grams. I put this in. There's, another, what did I say that was? Uh, Come on, protein, another 18 grams if I put this in it. Sometimes I'll throw in some Greek yogurt. There's another 13 grams. And then I also kind of wanted to show you, I use Thrive protein drinks. One of the reasons why I like it is it has a little bit of caffeine, and they have a system which I don't use the total system anymore. It's you wake up in the morning and you take 2 of their pills, which I have over here, which are basically some pre and probiotics and some other vitamins and so forth. It does have a little bit of B12 in it. Let's see, B6, B2. You start off with this on an empty stomach, and then within 30 minutes or so after that, I usually wait an hour or so after that, you have your shake. I'm really kind of hooked on their cinnamon pumpkin spice, and I like their peppermint, and I have a new favorite from them. It's not going to show up real well because there's a green screen and it's green bad, but it is chocolate mint. And I apologize for not showing up, but I forgot I have a green screen behind me and this is green, so it's not going to show up really well. It tastes really well. It could have a little bit more protein in it. Let's see, their protein, the calories is good. It's only 124 calories in a pack. Only 2 grams of sugar. It has 5 grams fiber, which is good. Protein is only 15 grams, but like I said, I add everything else into it. So I could be up to 50, 55 with just the shake alone. And then, another 20, 25 in my coffee. So like I've had 3/4 of a day of protein, and it's not even lunch. So again, I'm not a breakfast person. I can handle the shake, but I kind of like have the shake all the way, over like a 3 to 3.5 hour period. Sometimes I still have a good quarter of my shake left when I have lunch, and then I'll just, have that. If I have my lunch, let's say at 1 o'clock, sometimes at 3:30, I'll finish my shake because I just put it in one of those thermal cups so it stays nice and cold. You can't even taste the protein, at least the collagen in the coffee, because we have unflavored. They do have flavored ones, but since we're putting in stuff, we have unflavored ones. And again, if I'm making my protein shake with the coffee, I do want the vanilla. And I think part of the reason why I throw a little bit of the cream in, uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit addicted to it. I was gonna say because it does cool down the coffee, but if the protein shake is in the fridge, so does it. But I'm just like for I can't tell you how many years I've had. Usually Coffee Mate, French vanilla, sugar free. So I guess I am somewhat addicted to it. Yeah, so I just put a kind of a splash when I'm going to do that. I don't do that all the time because it is a lot of protein for in the morning, and like I switch off as my shots wear down a little bit, and the appetite suppression isn't quite there. I do just have regular coffee without the protein shake. So what else do I have to show you? This Carol wants my props here. Found this. I've done, Carol and I both did a video on tasting of the protein water. It's okay, nothing great. I still prefer just regular water, either with my element electrolytes or Crystal Light or a generic brand of that. But this is called, you can see it. It's a protein pack. It's, I want to say like a shot. And it's got 17 grams of protein. This happens to be, they have several flavors, including unflavored. Uh, this one happens to be orange cream, which is pretty good tasting. So it's like, again, just, yeah, I don't want to take it now because I just, actually had some breakfast, I call it breakfast at 11 o'clock. Um, but, when I don't think I'm getting enough protein, again, because it's literally a shot. So I want to show you that there's other brands of this kind of stuff. I got this on Amazon. I particularly like this orange cream flavor, which is why I'm showing it to you. It's probably about the same price as a bottle of protein water. Again, and the protein water was okay. It just really wasn't my thing. Carol saying, let me put it up here. Yummy as far as the orange cream. It tastes really good. As I wasn't super in love with the protein waters. And like I said, Element is still one of my favorite. I think we have Salty. Then we have a couple brands that Element still being my favorite. And I have one. I forgot the brand name. It's kind of like a pina colada. And there are other ones. I know my wife kind of likes the one of the other raspberry ones. Just read the labels, check the prices. It's as far as the bottled water. I kind of this is one of my go-to. One of the reasons why I like this. Fully, thank you, Carol. Is because of the color. I'm at work, and we have assistants, aides, a couple of techs. So sometimes there's 3 or 4 bottles in there, and all kind of like by where we work, but we move around a lot, and because of the blue, I could usually tell which one is mine. And I like the harder ones where some of them, I don't know if it's Zephyr Hills or one of them, the really soft scrunchy bottles I'm not a huge fan of. My wife also likes these bottles because they're easy to get the cap off, or some of them are a little bit harder. not the worst thing in the world. We have a little thing you can put on there to help take any jar cap or bottle cap off, or even prescription thing off. There's ways to get around that. That's not the biggest thing in the world. Um, but I don't really like the soft things now. Keep in mind now, I live in South Florida. Hurricane season, I think, started today. I think mine just or yesterday, something like that. So I try to keep a good 7 to 10 cases of water in the house just in case there's a storm. Because I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure it's the same thing like with snowstorms or any big thing. And, there's one predicted, you go to the store and the aisles are like empty, except of course maybe the $40 or $50 a case thing of water. So I try not to worry about that and always have some water. Sometimes I will have some of those scrunchy bottles because they're on sale, and can't have all of my. Although these do go on sale once in a while, but we do try to primarily stick with this. I mean, their price is decent for the case. Yes, there are some cheaper, but again, I do keep some of the cheaper ones, and we do keep some of the more expensive ones. And one of the reasons why we do that is, again, so that we could tell whose bottle is who, if we're with other people, just a little tidbit. And again, like I said, if you've ever been in a store uh, a day or two before they predict a storm, that water aisle could be empty. And I have gotten to the point where, yes, I paid that, $40 for a case of this special water that came from Switzerland and a particular waterfall and had lava all over it. Not that that's anything. It's just their reason for charging so damn much. Like I don't know. To me that's kind of bullshit that you pay that kind of price, but that's just me. So what else do I have to show you? I think that's about it. So Carol, I think that you have seen. Oh, show you it's a little fine because yes, I am a caffeine addict sometimes, and they just came out with these little Celsius in there. Now I know that's not the greatest thing for hydration, but and I have cut down on my coffee. I used to have 3 cups. Now I'm down to like 2. Occasionally I'll have 2.5 if I'm really tired. If I have 2.5, I don't have something like Celsius. But like yesterday, which was the 4th day in a row that I worked, 12 to 13 hours a day, I was a little bit extra tired. So I actually didn't have this Celsius. I actually, one of our assistants ran across the street to 7-Eleven and actually bought me a Celsius. So, not perfect, working on cutting down on the caffeine, but I just thought this, a lot of people were like, what? They make it into powder? So I just wanted to show you that. And not too many more props. This is Bio Optimizer Breakthrough Magnesium. We've been using it for a while. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 different kinds of magnesium in them. It helps a lot with constipation. They say it helps with sleep. It seemed to have helped a lot more with sleep, and I do track my sleep with my Oura ring. And it hasn't quite so much lately, which is one of the reasons why I'm dropping some of the caffeine. Again, it could just be me. They're changing my hours all the time. The days that I work were short, so I'm working a lot of overtime. That could be part of it. And I love my Oura ring. My wife loves her Oura ring. Most people that have it like it. I'm almost ready for the newer version, although there isn't a huge difference. They say that it's a little bit lighter. They say that some of the sensors work a little bit better. I really haven't had too much of a problem. They say the charge time is it lasts a little bit longer. Who knows? We'll see. I'm not there yet. Remember that, wife. Come Christmas. Let's see. This is the vitamins that I use. Look at that. Again, green. I'm sorry. It's a whole food multivitamin, and I don't do it with iron. The reason I don't do it with iron is I don't really have an iron problem, for one thing, and iron does cause constipation. And as we know, this medication can cause constipation. This biooptimizer helps with that. Water, best friend for that. Water helps with so many things. As a matter of fact, I had a video about a month ago, and I watched a recent video on uh, how the GLP-1s are affecting teeth and cavities. Main reason being dry mouth, uh, lack of hydration could stop that, along with gum. The magnesium, let me put this up there. It's also helps with shaky legs or restless legs. So, just another thing that it's good for. Again, you may want to mention this to your doctor or who's ever managing your main health, because there are certain medications that magnesium doesn't mix too well with, or that you shouldn't take at the same time. So again, just a little bit of caution. If you're not going to check with your healthcare provider, at least, Google what kind of medication contraindicates with the magnesium. Again, always helps to be informed. I know that, sometimes you may say, oh, I want to try the magnesium, but, I don't have another doctor's appointment for 3 months, and to make one just for that, may not be the easiest thing in the world. So at least, check, do a little bit of research. I think people should research a lot of it. I think I had one more thing here. Dry mouth. Sugar-free gum helps with that. Now, as I've been having a lot of dry mouth, especially at night, and we have been using Factor foods for our meals since I've been working so late, at least like 3 times a week. We like them. They're very good. They're very good with portion control. They're very good with calories and portion control, especially. You could, pick your own meals. I try to keep them 500 calorie-ish. They're very good with their protein and so forth. But I think they're a little bit high in the sodium, which is okay because both my wife and I don't have blood pressure problems. But it's going to take a little bit for our bodies to get used to it, and we may have to drink a little bit more water to compensate for that. Um, Again, South Florida, we may have to put our humidifier in the bedroom on a little bit, because I know both of us probably sleep a little bit with our mouth open. So, that doesn't help any. I don't know if that affects anything with the teeth thing, because the dry mouth can lead to a little bit more cavities because you're not naturally rinsing everything out as much. But if you practice good oral hygiene, it should be okay. That shouldn't be a problem. I just did the video on it because, it came up. I found it interesting. And, you should know about it. It's not a huge factor in things, probably not a big deal, but, the more educated we are on this kind of stuff, the better, because we don't need to make our dentists rich, just, you know, little things like, making sure that, you brush the teeth a little bit better, a little bit better flossing or water picking, hydrate a little bit better, so that you don't have that dry mouth. That will help form the cavities. Maybe, like I said, a little bit of gum uh, could help. So, just a little bit. Um, Now, as far as videos coming up, I have one on how cardiologists are changing their tune on GLP-1 medications. I am doing another thing on how grocery stores are adapting again. Not so much the grocery stores, but the companies, your all these GLP-1 products are popping up. Now, one of my biggest takes on this, which will also be in some of the videos, is for this GLP-1 medication, the only thing that you really need is the medication, some water to be hydrated, and some nutritious food, nutrient dense food. Maybe some good meal planning, but those are the only things that are really required. You don't really need, GLP-1 vitamins. You don't really need, a lot of what they're doing. Like I know, let me see, I think I put it here on my phone here. And of course, I'm probably not going to find it now. Well, anyhow, we're running into a lot of like healthy choice or like lean cuisine type of things that are now saying GLP friendly on the label. Probably absolutely no difference in what it was before they slapped that GLP-1 onto the label. And they're just trying to make some money off the GLP-1 craze. Protein bars, the same thing, perfect for the GLP-1 diet. They haven't changed the bar at all. They just changed the marketing label. A lot of that going around. So again, just be leery. All you really need is the actual medication, a good diet, and hydration. Basically, if you're in a calorie deficit and you're eating nutrient dense foods, especially if you're moving a lot, you're going to lose weight. And the GLP-1s help, and just the nature of how they work, with the slower digestion, the slower stomach emptying, sending the impulse to the brain, to the pancreas to secrete a little insulin for the insulin spikes. We go through this. It's basics, which again, I'm also doing another video on GLP-1 basics, because every once in a while we have to remember and go back to the basics, because again, like I said, that's really all you need are the basics. Anything else is just a plus. Like as far as my extras, I do the magnesium again because it helps with the constipation. I do a stool softener. Neither one of these have GLP-1 friendly on the label. I do that, to basically help with the constipation. And again, I know that these shakes that I use, which are, I don't know if I mentioned it before, it's Thrive by Lavelle. I don't make anything for them. I don't work for them. I'm, not one of their salespeople. I know basically they are like an MLM type of company. I'm not involved with that. I just like the product and just go to their website and buy it. Um, Everybody has their own favorite protein powder. As long as you check, you want it to, be at, at least 14, 15 grams of protein. You want it low in sugar. You want maybe a little bit of fiber in there. Basically, that's it. Whatever you like. Some people mix it with water. I tend to mix my shake. I was originally using coconut and almond milk mixture, and since I'm on maintenance and would rather go for the protein than anything else, I switched to was Fairlife milk, which has I think 15 grams of protein in a cup. So I switched to that. I do use the skim because it is a little bit lower in calories. It is a little bit more calories than the almond milks and so forth. It depends on what stage you are and how much proteins you're getting. But it is a way to add to your protein. If you have no problem reaching it and you're more interested in calories, you could stick with the almond milk or that type of milk, whatever, or skim milk, whatever you like. You have to like this. If you're just drinking it, because, it's going to be like those old diets, and you have to enjoy what you're having now because this is our new way of life. This is what we're going to be, doing basically forever, as far as I'm concerned. Not to say that I'm not going to splurge and, have something, like eggs Benedict once in a while for breakfast, basically fuck the diet, you got to have times like that. So, uh, just my opinion, like I said, I'm not going to be hard on myself. I know that on vacation we were a little bit worse than we thought we were going to be as far as eating, but I think I gained 3 pounds. I think my wife gained 3 or 4. I don't remember, but we lost it with, she lost hers within the week. It took me, I think, 10 days to lose mine. No big deal. It's not like I did anything super special, like, to lose the 3, 4 pounds. I think, I just didn't add the yogurt into my shake. Saved a little bit of calories that way, just shaved a little bit off, nothing major. Um, again, because I'm on maintenance, but I did want to drop, a pound or two of that. And I did. And I probably didn't even have to omit the yogurt. Went back to my usual workout. And, I'm sure that helped. Um, one thing I wanted to mention is while we were gone, our Hume scale came. I kind of think it's really cool. My wife used it once or twice. I just have to show her how to use it again. I want to give you an example of what that looks like. It gives you a lot more information than the Renfo. It gives you information, like such, just like it. But what's kind of cool. Okay. You could have, your information on a graph type thing like this, or you could put it in body mode, which will tell you. So I have this set on muscle, how much, muscle is in each area and so forth. And you could also change this to the percentage of fats in the area. Now I'm only using the free version. They have a paid version. From what I'm reading, I don't know if it's worth it. It kind of gives you a report card, but I could look from week to week and kind of gauge myself. It gives you, and because you put in all your information and it knows my age. And let's see, when the first couple of days that I was on it, it was 9 years younger than what I actually was. For some reason, I went up a year. So. Again, is it 100% accurate? I don't know. Hi, Coco. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. We're talking about everything GLP-1. So, the Hume scale is pretty cool. Again, I'll show my wife how to do it again. I think you could have up to, I think it's like 170 users on it. And once you know it, once I got it, uh, the Hot Works that I go to basically got a different brand of it, but it's the same type of thing. Although I don't know, I have to wait till there's an actual person there to see how to hook it up and what app to use to do it. Because I'd like to see their comparison versus the Hume. Again, are all of these 100% accurate? Probably not. But like I say, if you gain or lose some fat or gain or lose some muscle, whether the amount is actually accurate, you're still losing or gaining. I have found, I think there's like a half a pound difference between the Hume scale and the Renfo scale that we were using. I don't know if that's because it's on a different floor. But like I said, whatever scale you're using, if you go up, you've gone up. If you go down, you go down. Some people go, oh, like I went to the doctor's office and it was 3 pounds difference. That's not the important thing. It's whether you're going up or down. It's the one that you use all the time to weigh yourself to decide, are you losing or are you gaining? So, that's it. Again, as far as the muscle mass, Yes, it's good to know. Measurements also help. I always recommend people take measurements and measurements throughout their journey, because sometimes if you're not losing weight and you're losing inches, to me, I that's a win anytime. Uh, how your clothes feel, it sure does feel good. Like I was originally in a size like 14, and I fit into some twos, fours, sixes. I'd say probably more like a 4 or 6, because those twos and fours are kind of a little bit more stretchy of a material. But I can't fit into some fours. I've done it in some not quite so stretchy. It depends on the clothes too. And we finally started clearing out some of our way too big clothes. We have a lot of them. We have 2 walk-in closets worth of them. So, it's a little at a time. I'm working a lot. Like I said, my wife has some problems with the COPD and so forth and can't do so much, but we're doing it a little at a time. Hopefully within the next month or so, they'll all be out. But we kind of had to stop because we had so many bags that we have to drop them off at a Goodwill before we could fill up more bags. We're running out of space for the bags, and we really don't know. We really don't want to throw the stuff out, because a lot of it still has tags on it. Well, and it's fairly expensive. I'd rather give it to Goodwill or anybody who wants to use it. Coco, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're having a great weekend and a great week. Uh, we just had, I don't know where you are. We just had Memorial Day. Looking forward to 4th of July. I'm gonna go visit my brother for a couple days. We'll be home by the 4th of July, because I don't want to be traveling on the 4th of July. So going to the other side of Florida to visit him. My other brother is coming, so it'll be a big like family reunion type thing. Big. There's 6 of us, uh, but it's just me and my brothers. So for us, that's big. We're all there. So looking forward to that. Again, we're only going to be gone a couple days, so I don't really, we're not really going to watch so much what we eat. And again, remember, no food is off limit. We just try to control how often we go to the foods that aren't so good for us, and the amounts. Like I said, the amounts were a little bit more than what we wanted. We're expecting our last vacation, but we were on vacation for like 9 days, 8 days, something like that. So, ouch, the size too shorts. Yeah, my wife has gone down from 2X to large. I think it's large or XL. Some of them she could do a large. I think she could go a little bit smaller, but she's likes her shirts big. So again, the smaller your clothes are, the more people are going to notice you losing weight. So the fact that she went from her 2X to the XL or larges, people were noticing that she's losing weight, because she's lost a good 32 pounds or so. So, you know, congratulations on that. Congratulations to everybody that's losing weight. It's not going to say that this makes it easier, but it is definitely making it doable. And I can honestly say that I'm not upset about having this lifestyle for the rest of my life, because it's really not a diet. It's a lifestyle change and a new lifestyle. 35 pounds. Yay, let's put this up there. It's trying to find this here. What I want. There we go. Yay, congratulations, 35 pounds. That's great. So it's back on comments. So I see if anybody else is saying anything. Okay. So lifestyle. Again, it makes it very doable. Let's say, it's like I don't have that same diet mentality that I used to have, because it's not a diet. And again, no food is off limit. I know people that, have sub sandwiches and stuff like that. Smaller portions, not too bad. They'll may have it on whole wheat bread or a wrap. You know, that's great. To me, I'm trying to eat a little bit less processed food, and those meats are highly processed. I'm fortunate that I have a farmer's market. It's a permanent farmer's market that's open every day except for like Christmas and Thanksgiving, things like that. And like they make their own turkey breast and they'll slice it for you, so it's not the highly processed thing. I don't eat that a lot because again, I have stuff that I'd rather have for lunch, but I do buy like they do make a turkey loaf, and as a matter of fact, today for lunch they make some ribs with just basically they use a lower sugar barbecue sauce because I asked the owner, we're going to just basically have that, just a small amount because we, my wife, I think, had a protein bar. I ate like a spoon or two of egg salad, 11 o'clock. So yeah, we do get some food from there, but they make it themselves. They make it for some of the delis. And being in a retirement area, there are delis on every block here. So and they make packaged meals already because there's so many retirees that just don't cook. And like I said, they don't use preservatives. It's made fresh all the time. So sometimes I have that. Um, for something different, yes, I am having, they were making a turkey roll sandwich, and putting it in the little containers. So I'm going to bring one of those to work with me tomorrow. I'll probably only have half and then half the next day or something like that. Um, because I just don't want to eat the same food all the time. One, that gets a little bit boring, and your body gets used to what you're eating, so you have to change it up, which is one of the reasons why I like these factor meals because they're kind of forcing us to have a little bit more carbs than what we were normally eating. And I think we weren't quite eating enough carbs, which can help bring on some stalls and stuff like that, plateaus, whatever you want to call them. Um, so this will help with the all-around nutrition. Again, they don't use preservatives. They don't, basically everything they use you can't pronounce. My only thing is sometimes they do use a little bit more salt than what we're used to, because we both, or at least I had high blood pressure in the past, which is now gone since I've lost the weight. So that's not a concern anymore. So, if there's a little bit, something I have to get used to, drink a little bit more water because I don't want the teeth going bad. Just again, wanted to bring that out because anything that comes out. Another thing, like I was just reading an article, how they're checking the effects of liver. Now they're saying that the GLP-1 actually helps with fatty liver disease, but they're looking to see if it affects the liver in other ways. Ongoing study, they haven't gotten the results yet. But like anything coming up like that I find interesting, I'm going to bring up either in one of these lives or I'm gonna, do a video on it if it's, enough information to do it. Obviously, this study isn't even done yet. They don't really have any results, so that's not a thing to do a video on at this point. So it's keeping you up to date as to videos coming out. Again, if you have any interest in being interviewed, I would love to do that. I want to, keep this interview series on coming up. Email me glp1 journey and review at yahoo.com. Comment. I read every single one of my comments. If you want to be interviewed, Facebook, Instagram. Lori Eisman is my Instagram. That's LORRIEISSMAN. That's my Instagram. Feel free to make a comment on my Facebook if you'd like it. There are plenty of ways to reach me. Would love to do this. I think it's fun. I think, listening to other people's stories, again, everybody's journey is different. But, if you take a piece of my story, a piece of this person's story, a piece of that person's story, you can make your own journey evolve the way you want it to by listening to how other people did. Some things might work for you, some things might not, but you'll get ideas. And that's basically what this interview thing is all about. And again, we've made some accomplishments, like I've lost a little over 60 pounds. Carol's lost 35 pounds. Let's talk about it. This is great. It's like, you know, and I don't think this is going to be like, you know, the old diet mentality of the past where, you lose it, you gain it, and then some, because if this is a type of thing, and at least for me, I figure I'm probably a lifer on this, at least some sort of, I don't know what the next generation GLP-1, but they're actually talking about the new oral medications, maybe as low as $150 for the month. That would be great. Some sort of, if I'm on something like that for life, and who knows, eventually insurance may not, be so stingy and actually see the benefits. Speaking of which, I did read an article that some of the Blue Crosses are going to make it a little bit harder for the employers to okay the GLP-1 medication. I don't know why they're doing this because, well, I do know why, because you don't see immediate benefits because the average person changes insurance. I think it's like every 2 years or so. So that if, like I started my journey like a year and a half ago, I'm starting to see the benefits now. I happen to be on this, no, yeah, I happen to be on the same insurance, but if I was using insurance from work as opposed to Medicare, I would have changed insurance because my employer changed their insurance plan. I had no choice. I would have had no choice over it. And I know where I used to work. I think one time we had the same insurance for 2 years. Other than that, every year they change. So, if you start off with like Blue Cross, you might be on a Humana program the next year. So, Blue Cross is saying, why should I approve this expensive medication when Humana is going to see the benefit? But what they're forgetting is that Humana is in the same boat. They're saying, why should I pay the medication when a year from now, Blue Cross might be seeing it. It should even itself out. But if they bring down the price, or the costs, less people having heart attacks, less people needing hospital stays for that, less people needing open heart surgeries, which costs a lot of money, then they're saving money in the long run. They'll eventually get there, hopefully. That's what I'm advocating for. That's what I'm hoping for. More accessibility, more affordability. Insurance companies doing this, new medications coming out, trying to keep compounding alive, keeping prices down, competition. We already see Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. It has lowered their prices, not enough. Hopefully they'll get it down to $250, $299. If I could get my medication name brand through Eli Lilly at $299, I wouldn't be using compounding. Yes, I might be saving $20 or so, but for that, I would go with name brand. Will that bring compounding down? I don't know. But that's all in the future. So that's pretty much our live for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, hit that like and subscribe button, please. I'm getting so close. Hopefully you like me. Hopefully you'll share this. Hopefully you'll subscribe. Again, GLP-1 Journey in Review at yahoo.com. Would love to do an interview on you. I'm starting up that interview series again. Like I said, I only did like 2 or 3 interviews in the past, but I'd like to make this at least 2 a month, if not a weekly thing, because I think we have a lot to learn from each other. I got a couple of other people that have said yes. I don't know how serious they are. I haven't really pursued it too much with them. Once I get it going, and they could see what my interviews are like, and hopefully that'll help. and looking forward to it. And I want all of you to have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll be back next week. Please check out my videos. I got plenty of stuff in the playlists, um, new content every day. So that's it. Have a good day.